Good morning to all. Our today's learning topic is force system, also called as system of forces. A system of forces is a group of forces acting on an object simultaneously. When number of forces acting on a body or at a point, the collection or group of forces is known as force system. Collection group of forces and number of forces. So see this example here, see image. This one person is applying force here, other person is applying force here, and due to this weight, this gravitational force here, and due to interaction between vehicle and road, there is frictional force here. So those are number of forces. So this is nothing but the force system. These forces either act at a point also, like that. If this is point, if this force is act at this force is act at this is also force system. And there are types of force system. So one is collinear force system, one is coplanar force system, other is non-coplanar force system. Then collinear, concurrent, parallel, non-concurrent, non-parallel, and concurrent, parallel, non-concurrent. So we will see step by step what is meaning of these forces. Meticulously we will see. So first is coplanar force system. This. So read definition of coplanar force system. When the line of action of a set of forces lie in a single plane is called as coplanar force system. First understand what is point. What is plane? Sorry, what is plane? So let us assume that this is point. Every point has three planes, and core axis of this point is x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So this xz is one plane, xy is second plane, vertical plane, and this yz is one other plane. So there are one, two, three planes. So when the line of action of a set of forces lie in a single plane is called as coplanar force system. So what is line of action? If my force is like this, so this is line of action. If my force is like this, so this is line of action. If force is like this, so this is a line of action. So here in this a coplanar force system, see, one force is acting here, one force is acting like this F2, and this F1 is like this. And now see line of action of those three forces. This F1 force line of action is this, F2 force line of action is this, and F4 force line of action is this. So all these F1, F2, F4, three forces line of action are in a single plane, only in a xz plane. And see this F4 force is also here. F4 line of action is here on xz plane. So what is coplanar force system? Line of action of a set of forces lie in a single plane, either in xy plane, either in yz plane, either in xy plane, but in a single plane only. Other way, see, if my this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is z-axis, so forces are acting here. This is also coplanar force system. Why this is coplanar force system? Because my line of action of forces are acts on a only one plane, and which plane? Only x y plane. if my forces are acts like this, then this is also coplanar force system, because my forces are acts on only one plane, yz plane. They are not acting on xy plane and xz plane, so that's why. Now next is non-coplanar force system. Second, see force system divided into coplanar, non-coplanar. See chart, tree diagram. Non-coplanar force system, when the line of action of all the forces do not lie in one plane, is called as non-coplanar force system. So this non-coplanar force system is opposite of that coplanar force system. In our previous coplanar force system, line of action of all forces acts in only one plane, but now in non-coplanar force system, line of action of all forces acts on a do not act on a one plane. They are acting on a xy plane also and xz plane also. See here, this F3 force. Now we will see this letters A, B figures. So this F3 force line of action is this, F4 force line of action is this, and these are acts on xy plane. These are acting on xy plane, and this F1 force line of action is this, F2 force line of action is this, and those are acting on xz plane. So now see here, forces acting on xy plane also and xz plane also. That's why these are non-coplanar force system. See, word itself tells us non-coplanar. This word coplanar word. Now see B diagram. This now see xy plane force F1 line of action is this, and this is xy plane, and this is xz plane. On xz plane there is F2 force and F3 force. So see forces on xy plane also and xz plane also. And in other way, I will give you one other example also. This is x, y, and z plane. If my one force is here and if here, then this is also non-coplanar force system, because on xy plane and on yz plane, on more than one planes forces acting, so that's why non-coplanar force system. Now we will move towards next, concurrent force system. See, until now we had seen coplanar, non-coplanar. Now we will see concurrent force system. When the line of action of all the forces meet at a single point, is called as concurrent force system. So see photograph, concurrent force system. There is A point, and on A point F1 force is acting. There is B point, on B point F2 force is acting. C point F3 force is acting. D point F4 force is acting, and this is O point. F1 force line of action is like this. F2 force line of action is like this. F3 force line of action is like this, and F4 force line of action is like this. So focus on what is happening here. All line of actions are meet in a single point, and on which point they are meeting? On O point here. So that is nothing but the concurrent force system. See here, when the line of action of all forces meet at a single point, and this point is here O, is called as concurrent force system. Here also see, this is line of action, this is line of action, this is line of action, this is, and they are meeting at here. Okay, concurrent force system. So next is non-concurrent force system. we will see next non-concurrent force system. Because see here, coplanar force concurrent, non-coplanar force concurrent, non-concurrent. So I will tell you this non-concurrent force system. When the line of action of all the forces do not meet at a single point, it is called as non-concurrent force system. So it is opposite of concurrent force system. Non-concurrent forces may be coplanar or non-coplanar. That's why here see, this is non-concurrent forces is in here also, and it is written in here also, concurrent, non-concurrent. That's why it is either coplanar, either non-coplanar. See, see, we saw concurrent force system. So what is coplanar concurrent force system? X, Y, Z. This is coplanar concurrent force system because it is acting on only XY plane. If this is acting on ZY plane also, then that is non-coplanar concurrent force system. Like this, if it is acting like this, then this is non-coplanar concurrent force system. Why non-coplanar concurrent force system? Because forces are in XY plane also and ZY plane also. So now see non-concurrent force system. When the line of action of all the forces do not meet at a single point, it is called as non-concurrent force system. Here we will explore diagrammatically. At A point F1 force is acting, at B point F2 force is acting, at C point F3 force is acting, and at D point F4 force is acting. So this F1 line of action is this, F2 line of action is this, F3 line of action is this, F4 line of action is this, F1 line of action is this, and F2 line of action is this. See here, F1 and F2 are meeting. But and this F1 and F3 are also meeting at a single point, F1, F3. But these are all not meeting in a single point. See this F4 line of action is meeting here only. So they are not meeting in a single point. That's why this is non-concurrent force system. They are meeting in a different points. Yes, they all are meeting, but they are meeting in a different points. So concurrent meaning they are meeting in a single point. So next is collinear force system. When the line of action of all the forces of a system act along a same line, this force system is called as collinear force system. See, these three forces P1, P2, P3 acts on any body, and all three forces line of action is along the same line. So that's why it is collinear force system. Name itself is telling us collinear. Collinear. Let us see other example. If this is irregular body and I apply one force here and other force, this is push type of force, it is pushing the body, and this is pull type of force, it is pulling the body. So line of action of both of these two forces are like this. So this is also collinear force system. Now next is parallel force system. When line of action of forces are parallel to each other, it is called as parallel force system. See here, line of action of F1, line of action of F2, line of action of F3, line of action of F4 are parallel to each other. That's why it is parallel force system. See here also P1, P2, P3, P4 line of actions are parallel. But one concept is there that parallel force system is again subdivided into two systems, like parallel force system and unlike parallel force system. So now what is like parallel force system and unlike parallel force system? Like parallel force system, that means all forces acts in a particular one direction. See here F1 also, F2 also, F3 also, sense of that forces are in a one side only. But here see, this P1 is acting upwards, P1, P2, P4, but only this P3 is opposite to them. So this is unlike parallel force system. Unlike parallel force system, in unlike parallel system, either one force or more than one force sense is different than those other forces. So that is unlike parallel force system. And in engineering, we come across various types of combination of forces. Combination, that is here in C in tree diagram. Combination, that means coplanar, collinear. Coplanar, collinear, that means they are only acting in one plane, coplane, and co-linear also. We saw collinear. See here, collinear in a one line of action of forces in a one line. So it is like collinear. This is collinear. This is coplanar, co-linear force system. Next is coplanar concurrent force system. Concurrent force system we saw here. Concurrent, when the line of action of all forces meet at a single point. So coplanar concurrent force system. See here also, this is also, this image is also coplanar concurrent force. No, if see here, I gave you example here on. I explained you already. Now coplanar parallel force system. In only one plane there are parallel forces. Only in either x y x z plane parallel forces are there. Will there, then that is coplanar parallel force system. Then other is coplanar non-concurrent force system. Coplanar non-parallel force system. Non-coplanar concurrent force system. Non-coplanar parallel force system. And so how to describe non-coplanar parallel force system? See, x plane, y plane, and z plane is there. So if my forces are not the non-coplanar parallel force system, we are interested for this. So this is parallel, this is parallel, this is also parallel, this is also parallel. See here, parallel forces like this, but they are in xy plane also. Two forces are in xy plane and two forces are in yz plane. So that's why they are non-coplanar parallel force system. Now, non-coplanar non-parallel force system. Second, non-parallel. If this is x plane, x axis, y axis, and z axis, if my forces are like this, see here, x, not like this, wait. Like this, like this, like this, and like this. So one force sense is different than other forces. So that's why it is non-coplanar, non-parallel force system. and non-coplanar non-concurrent force system. Non-coplanar non-concurrent force system, that means if forces are one force is here, one force is here, and other force is here, other force is here, so all forces line of actions are different. See, line of action of this force, 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 they are not meeting in a single point. So that's why it is non-coplanar non-concurrent force system. Why non-coplanar? Because forces are in xy plane also and yz plane also. Forces are in more than one plane. That's why non-coplanar force system, and their line of action are not meeting in a particular single point. That's why non-concurrent, non-coplanar and non-concurrent. Coplanar non-concurrent force system. So coplanar non-concurrent example is, see, forces are in one plane only, but their line of action will not meet in a single point. If this is line of action of this force is this line of action, see, those are not meeting in a single point line of action, because see, one point is here, one point is here, so they are not meeting in a single point, but they are forces are in one plane. That's why coplanar and non-concurrent force system. And coplanar concurrent is like this. Their line of action meeting in a this single point, so that is coplanar, and they are on one plane only, xy plane, coplanar and concurrent force system. So this is about forces, types of forces, and force system and system of force. I think it is understandable to you. So thank you very much.